What up, guys? Welcome back. We are the Hardcore Casuals, your all killer, no filler wrestling analysis. And yeah, so we're gonna try a couple of new things here. Obviously we were doing a podcast form, but I think we were gonna try out a couple of things where we just kind of talk about, big topics, things that we're interested in, shorter videos. We're not really doing a podcast on any podcasting network. We're kind of just uploading to YouTube. The videos are long. They take longer to upload, and it's more content. And this is easier for us to just do smaller videos, do a few at one time, and I can upload them throughout the week so we can kind of just talk about a few things. So here with this first one, thing we wanted to talk about here this week is, our boy, Logan Paul, he signed a deal with WWE, was it a week back or so? Week back ago. And at first I was like, okay. I'm like, maybe he did like a Ronda deal where he's going to, come in, work a year or two or whatever, and then kind of, maybe he's going to train. He's not there yet. He signed a deal, but he's not there. So I guess he's going to wrestle Miz at SummerSlam, I guess is the plan. I don't know for sure what the deal is with that is, but the thing about Logan Paul is he has his finger on the pulse of the internet, the pulse of young people, and I think that on top of all of that, being a charismatic person, good-looking guy, he's big, he's muscular, he's everything that they want. He's an internet celebrity, and one of the things that, at first I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't know about how I feel about Logan Paul. He's athletic, some people like him, some people hate him, but he's kind of polarizing, but people know who he is. A lot of people know who he is. And he said something recently where he was talking to Vince, and he said, "Hey, Vince, did you know that I have the most listened to podcast in the entire world?" And I was like, is that a real thing? I thought maybe it would have been Joe Rogan or something. But legitimately, he has his finger on the pulse of what young people want to hear and talk about.
Right.
So it's just interesting that they set up a deal with him. I bet he's making what Brock's making. Like, I can't imagine that they're not going to pay him, chump change to come be a wrestler because he could do so many things,
Right.
But the question here lies is, with our pro wrestling, with stuff that's going on nowadays, I think the most exciting and most interesting thing that you could see going on right now are these interesting matches or these interesting celebrities that come in, actually give a shit about learning how to wrestle, and then getting in the ring and then getting in there and actually like impressing the fans, and then the fans being like, well, shit, I want to see more of that. Because there's not that many people or wrestlers in the world right now where you see them in the ring, against each other, and you're like, there's an automatic electricity in the ring, off the jump before anything even happens. The last time that happened was, at least in terms of for wrestling fans, I guess you could say Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, and then you could even go back further. When you take it back to like Rock and Hogan at Mania, like, originally I don't think people expected that to be as electric as it is, but it's not that neither one of those guys, The Rock or Hogan, are known to be the greatest in-ring performers. They bring an electricity and a want to see from fans that you don't see from a lot of guys. It's what we've been talking about with a lot of stuff with AEW and some of the undercard guys with WWE. A lot of the undercard guys with WWE, there's just no stars in wrestling. So it's like, would it be like unreasonable to say that it would be bad for Logan Paul to dethrone Roman Reigns? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. I mean, the first thing, obviously they're capitalizing on what they're not able to capitalize in their own company, which is to create those type of stars that generate buzz. Because they just, they've failed to do that, and a lot of guys haven't really worked out, so they're having to go to, outside means. Back when they brought in Ronda, and Ronda had a lot of buzz behind her in UFC, and she always talked about how she liked wrestling. Boom, bring her in, and she just got skyrocketed. Same here now, like Logan Paul had a great outing at WrestleMania. He looked great. Then they just literally signed him to a full blown contract. So it's like they see the like you said, the buzz and everything outside of wrestling and how they create it, and they're like, well, fuck. I mean, they came in here, they did their thing. Well, you know, what happens if we end up training them up like all these other guys that are here, and you already have the established buzz and electricity like you were talking about? So definitely agree with that. The big thing is that I just hope that they keep behind the scenes, at least, that is, and you know, the powers that be, whoever the fuck that's going to end up being, you know, I hope they keep in mind wrestling standards and keep in mind the fact that, you know, if they're going to make these kind of guys, bring in these kind of guys and make them huge stars, they have to have a passion for the business. Like, it's just, it will completely disregard all sort of, you know, traditions of just, you look at a guy like this guy right now for us as wrestling fans, and I haven't listened to anything. I didn't even know, like, I knew Logan Paul did, like, I get him and his brother confused all the time. I don't know which one of them boxes. I don't know which one of them.
They both box.
Yeah, like, so it's like they did YouTube and then they're doing pods. Like, I could really give a shit, but like, he came in and I'm like, okay, well, he's going to have a crowd buzz, so that'll, you know, automatically make his matches more intriguing. And what captured for me is watching wrestling for the years that we have is his athleticism and how natural he was with facial expressions and everything like that, because I think he really did a great job at WrestleMania. I thought he killed it. But they have to keep in mind, for people like us, like, we look at a guy like Cody who has an immense passion and drive to be like a huge star and want to be the top of the top. And, you know, we just hope that those kind of guys, because it looks like, what if a year or two down the road we get a Logan Paul that comes off like a Ronda Rousey now, because Ronda does not have any passion. She does not have any desire to be there. So I think that is falling off the track. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And I think that if you were to skyrocket somebody that quickly, that fast, without seeing kind of the long run and seeing where their potential can go, I think that could really bite you in the ass. But there's tons of potential there. There's tons of potential with Logan Paul for sure. But I just think that, you know, you really figure out, and behind the scenes, I know everybody that's there, you look at Triple H's and Pritchard and everybody who's been in the business forever, and, you know, they're going to know if you have a passion for it. And if you don't, you know, they're going to use you for what they need, and they're not going to, you know, I wouldn't say let you reach your full potential, because if you don't have the passion for it, then there isn't a full potential there. So it's a lot of things to juggle there, but definitely tons of potential for Logan Paul, and hopefully he has that passion, he has that desire to be great and want to keep learning. And because obviously he's still, you know, he's had one fucking wrestling match, so it's like, you know, he's got tons and tons and tons to learn, but he definitely has the electricity behind him, and hopefully he can continue to grow, and like you said, that passion can grow too.
Yeah, the whole idea is, you know, potentially dethroning Reigns, you know, because he's the star, the star company, and it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, shit, maybe that's not the case. Maybe in him not dethroning Reigns, but maybe him just in the future becoming the world champion, like, in that aspect, like, maybe that he doesn't dethrone Reigns in general, but maybe he just becomes the world champion, or they make him a main eventer. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, what does he need to do? Train for 6 months to, you know, 7 to 8 months or something, and then if he's like a natural, like a Kurt Angle or a Lesnar, and he picks it up quick, then, you know, he can jump in there, and I'm sure he won't, you know a lot of the intricacies, but, you know.
Well, you also got to look at a big thing where, like, say for Ronda, she came in with a crazy, insane competitive vibe. Same with Kurt Angle, same with Brock Lesnar. They have this competitive mentality that they want to be the best, and hopefully that's there with Logan Paul too, because he doesn't have to do this. You know, this is, I don't want to say it's like a fun side project for him, but it's like he doesn't have to do it. So
right,
hopefully it's there, and hopefully he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, the money's definitely there. Hopefully it's not just a money grab for him, and he actually enjoys what he's doing, and like he wants to become something. You know, because even when you look at a guy like Pat McAfee, like, he loves pro wrestling. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, he's a football star. He doesn't have to do. Well, he was a football star. He has his own podcast. He doesn't need to do this. He makes plenty of money. He doesn't need to be a commentator. He doesn't need to wrestle. He actually just loves it. So it's like one of those things. It's like you'd hope a guy like Logan Paul would actually really love what he's doing, love being, being a wrestler. Or, it could be one of those situations where it's like Ronda, where they're like, she's a big name, he's a big name. We're just going to take you to as far as we can take you. And then, you're going to walk out the door with a big old stack of money and you don't really care. But, for us, it's really just about, if he shows up and, that name on the marquee, it's like Logan Paul versus that guy, Logan Paul versus this guy, or it's, Logan Paul versus Reigns, or Logan Paul versus, the other big name in the company, or whatever it is. It's like people see that on the marquee and they're like, casual fans even will tune in and be like, well, Logan Paul's wrestling, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, oh, okay. So it's like something that,
like we were saying, like nowadays, the perfect comparison is like back in the day, a household name for that time, you would look at a Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was brought in for the main event of WrestleMania 11. That was huge. That was huge news. He was a household name. He was a huge, athlete. There wasn't these internet people that, are all the buzz now. That's similar to what they're doing. They're just capitalizing on what the household thing is now. And now for casual fans and younger kids or whoever it is, WWE's main audience, they know who this guy is. So they're targeting their audience 100%. So, I don't fault them at all for making the signing. And like I said, hopefully, all of that, excitement, electricity, and all the buzz and everything that surrounds him, hopefully, a passion and want to get good at it, follows behind it.
For sure. And we'll definitely keep track and we'll see what happens, heading on obviously into the future with what Logan Paul does. Like you said, he brings that electricity. So, as a wrestling fan, as an older wrestling fan that, we've kind of moved on into this phase of a fandom where it's not just about the moves. It's not just about the long 35, 40-minute epics and all these crazy moves and matches. We want to be, entertained. We want to have a story. We want a reason to care about why these guys are fighting or just wrestling or whatever. So, we'll see if that, comes to fruition with Logan Paul and see what happens with him there.